Hey, it's the Disc Golf Show. That's right, you're in the right place. Or if you're not, you know what? Just stay tuned. Stay tuned. It's going to be great. You're going to learn about disc golf. It's going to be awesome. Today's episode is episode 5 on March 11th, 2025. I think I got it right that time.
Yes.
And that is going to be the episode and the date all day long, all episode long. This show is brought to you in part by Final Nine Sports with their 2 locations, one in Orangeville, one in Rockland. My name is Justin. With me are these 2 gentlemen here.
It's Nick. That's me.
And I'm Ken.
Yes, you are. Also, real quick, if you can't support local, because you know up top on the show, we say, hey, support local. Final Nine Sports is our local pro shop. But let's just say you can't support local. Well, we have a solution for you. And don't tell anybody. Actually, tell everybody. You can save a little bit of money if you use our code, our affiliate link. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about discgolfdealusa.com. And if you put a little slash and a disc golf show behind it, or if you just click on the link if you're watching the YouTubes or looking through the show notes on the audio-only version, you can save yourself 10% off your purchase online. And who doesn't want to save money? I do.
I always want to save money.
I always
Absolutely
want to save money. Yeah, exactly. Today, we've got a jam-packed show. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Disc golf is kicking off again in full force, I might add, because we're back into the season of things. But up front, we have a super kind of important announcement to make. We have some winners. We have some winners of a giveaway that we had, 2 shows ago now. We held this giveaway, we held because it's past tense. Sorry, you missed out. But there were a couple of winners that didn't, and they are MN Disc Golfer, the Saratoga 1316, the 1316th, the Saratoga, and Pam Lee, 4075. We've sent you a message on YouTube saying, hey, shoot us an email. So if you didn't see that, if you're listening to this, congratulations. Shoot us an email at theshow@discgolfshow.com, and we'll go from there. Don't click on any links. Just send us an email. That's how you know you actually won, and you don't get scammed. Congratulations, and you helped us reach the 1,500 subscribers on YouTube, and we thank you for that too, and thank you to everybody that helped us get there as well. Many more giveaways to come.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Keep hitting the subscribe button, and you could be entered to win. You never know.
Yeah, do all the things. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet.
Subscribe.
Comment.
Like, slam that. Yeah.
Hit the like button.
What other YouTubeisms could we say? Like, let's do that. Do all the things.
Justin and I were joking that him and I were the only one communicating on the one YouTube video. Come on, people, engage. Let's go. Talk to us
on the Spotify episode.
Yeah.
I love the show. So do I. But we're on it. So leave your comments. It's good that you love your own show. It is. It's important. Also, what's important is the news. News. The news. I'll start us off, followed by Ken, and then Nick. See what I did there? Gregg Barsby announces the engagement to Casey Joseph. Congratulations. Engagement. It's okay, so this is what's going to happen. Mr. Barsby. We're going to have this wonderful time. An amazing wedding, I'm sure. It'll be absolutely fantastic. And then your disc golf game for the next year is going to go into shit. That's what's going to happen. I'm sorry to tell you this, but that's what's going to happen.
That's what everybody's going to say.
Your priorities will adjust. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, be prepared. We're prepared.
Hey, you can use that as an excuse now, right? If you don't play well, you expect, I had a lot on my mind.
Planning a wedding, getting married, all the life stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I say every time I play a round of disc golf. Now, I got married 20 years ago. So.
Well, my guess is that they'll probably be planning during the season and then have the wedding in the off season. I mean, that would probably be the most logical thing. But,
sure.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
And Joseph.
The Lots got married in the middle of the season, so
that's right.
It happens.
Right. Oh,
it does. It does. Nothing wrong with that. Just, I'm sorry about your game.
Hey, number 2, that happened a little bit ago now because we only record every 2 weeks, the All-Star event happened, you know, and
It did.
we had some wild results in the All-Star game.
Well, yeah, but there. Okay, listen. Hey, here. Okay, guys, I have some notes.
He's going to unload now. Here
I,
we go.
I have some notes
We
here.
need a segment on the show called Nick's Old Mannerisms. Because coming. Just be forewarned.
So I have a major issue with spotters now, and I've had this issue with them for a long time.
Now?
But
Oh,
it
okay, I was
just,
about to say.
dude, it never lets up. There's always some issue with a spotter. And we'll get into the other one later, but this one, there was a spotter in the. Now, okay, again, there's two parts to this. Okay? Justin loves it when I go off. Tangent coming. Okay, two parts.
I do.
One.
Nick at discgolfshow.com.
One is the possibility of interference. Okay? That's a huge issue. Huge issue. It's happened too many times, and it happens at least once a year where this is a topic of conversation. There was a drive that came down. It had a cut roll, and it almost hit the guy's heels. I don't know why. And it's like he didn't even move either. He just like looked at it, and I was like, had to be within 6 inches of his feet. And it's like, come on, man, just that shouldn't even be. It shouldn't be that close to a spotter. The other thing is, I don't want to see a spotter on coverage when the disc is coming in towards the basket and the spotter is 60 feet away from the basket in the fairway. It's a bad look. It's a bad look.
You're talking about placement.
Yes.
Yeah. You're talking about placement of the spotter. Yeah.
Yes, fine.
And you know what? I will actually agree with you a little bit here, because maybe this is something that, you know, the TD could have a conversation with the spotters as they go out there, because, you know, hey, these aren't usually paid staff members, right? These are
right. They get a T-shirt, a disc, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe lunch.
Maybe, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what you're getting out of it. But maybe there needs to be just a little bit of discussion between, you know, maybe the TD, that might be most appropriate, right? The TD having the discussion with all the spotters. Hey, so when you're spotting, here's kind of some guidelines and expectations, and putting that out there. And hey, maybe that's happening and it's just not being listened to.
Maybe.
But then that needs to be reinforced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there needs to be a little bit of follow-up there, and especially when we're having kind of this whole thing, right? What we're really talking about is the professionalism and the look of how disc golf comes across. And not only to the people that enjoy and consume disc golf content like ourselves, but to the outsider that's looking in.
Yes.
Right? What does that give as a presentation of the medium, right? Is it a professional look, or is it an amateur look?
Yeah, exactly.
Are people going to be like, disc golf, pff, look at this, their spotters are getting in the way, what's going on here, right? You know, people are getting in the way of disc. It just looks unprofessional.
Yes.
Right? So cleaning that up a little bit. Is it a massive problem? Not really in the scheme of things. It happens fairly inconsistently, but we see a couple of events every year.
Yep.
And we could probably do a little bit better job as maybe TDs.
Yes.
Of cleaning that up a little bit. You know, and it's one of those things too, and I'm sure we'll talk about the other one here later when we get to the Supreme Flight Open. But, you know, accidents happen, I get it, but at the same time, you should be placing those people in a way that we're minimizing those to the maximum extent possible.
Yeah, preventative measures. Like,
yeah.
you find, and here's the other thing, like you said, maybe it's a walkthrough with the TD.
Sure.
And he goes, hey guys, we're going to do a mock run today. Everybody come out the day before, or whenever, right? The week before, when they're setting up layout. Come out if you're going to be spotting a hole. We're going to walk through the course and we'll tell you, hey, this is fine. This is okay. This is ideal. You know, because here's the thing. You don't have to be, as a spotter, you don't have to be right where the average disc lands.
True.
If anything, they're placed too good. You know, they're, like you said, they're
you have
literally
to be
in the landing zone.
You have to be around an area where you have visibility of possible landing spots for discs. You don't have to be at the landing area. So it's frustrating to me only because I say it over and over, which means it's happening over and over, which means it needs to be addressed. So yes, exactly. It comes down, like you said, Justin, it's more the ideals of the professional outlook of the game. But we'll move on from that because I've gone over that plenty. Hole 4. Great hole on this course. And again, this is the same course that's being used for Supreme Flight Open. Mm-hmm. Hole 4, amazing hole. Not a fan of the location of the hole. I'm getting to a point now. Well, I feel disc golf, the tour is getting to a point now where the holes shouldn't be in a location where you just have roadway traffic flying by in view on camera, where there's a fence and then there's 20 feet to a road or 10 feet, whatever it is. It's one to, well, again, guys, listen, hate me if you want, that's fine. It's more of an irritation from what I would like to see. Obviously, it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying it is. Again, this goes to me seeing how far in the future where disc golf will be and how it will look. And I like to try to push it there as much as possible, as quickly as possible, even though that, yes, it will get there in time. Wasn't a fan of location, which, again, there's not much I can do about that. But I can say, amazing hole. I love the hole as a specific design point.
Now, I did hear, I forget which pro it was, but somebody did even mention that the same thing. Like, it was so loud next to the road, and it did bother them. Again, we talked about it last podcast. Like, disc golf is one of those sports that they want everything to be extremely quiet, and then all of a sudden you've got, cars racing up and down the road and, purposely blowing horns if they see you, stuff like that. Like, yeah, I agree. You got to kind of move that hole, or again, as your course designing in the future, I mean, unless you have to, I wouldn't put a hole next to a road like that.
So with the All-Star event, you're getting an idea of what the season may look like, correct? You're seeing what these top, at least the selected few that were chosen for this event, what it looks like they may be capable of for the year. I gotta say that Henna Blomroos, her putt looked way better than it has in the past. It wasn't perfect by any means. She definitely had some misses, but it wasn't a 5 putt or anything like that. True. She looked more solid in her green game, closer to the basket. I'm going to go back to this. Gannon Buhr should only putt from a knee. He should only putt from a knee. The guy never misses when he putts from a knee. So, I don't care if it's wide open. Just get down to the knee and putt because you're going to drain it.
Maybe it's because it puts him more level with the basket, because he's so tall. Like, if he just put it normal, his arm extension would be above the basket.
Yeah, exactly. But, it was, I mean, that's the first thing that stuck out to me when he got into the scene and he got into playing pro was his ability to just all upper body. You're not using any lower body at that point. Mm-hmm. You're knelt down on the ground, And then ultimately with the event, you had a playoff, which probably shouldn't have been a playoff, but it ended up being a playoff.
Now, talk about putting.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Like it was, hey, you know what? In the end, for me, it was extremely entertaining.
It was. And I think everybody knows what we're talking about. Not to beat a dead horse here, because I'm sure this has been covered ad nauseum at this point. Because All-Star is pretty old news. But yeah, it was pretty entertaining. Especially that Isaac Robinson thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That,
I mean, he couldn't help but smile,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Buhr was right behind him, giving him crap.
Oh, of course. As you should.
Yeah.
As you should.
Right.
And I agree, too. I've heard that they should have mic'd these players up, or at least turned up the hot mics on the cameras more. Like that again, it's an all-star event. Why not? I want to hear what
Yep.
they're saying. I would encourage trash talking between the
They should
players
do
and stuff like that. Like why
Oh
not?
yeah.
they should do like you know how the NFL does? They'll mic up a player for a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit. You know,
Baseball does it.
just
Heck,
yeah,
Yep.
baseball's
exactly.
interviewing
Just throw
people while the game is going on now.
yeah,
While the
yeah.
game is going on. A live, like regular, not an all-star game, a
Hmm.
regular season game. So why
That's
not do it in
crazy.
disc
That's
golf?
fantastic.
It's
Yeah,
Do
crazy.
it.
throw a mic
Um,
on them.
big shout out to Burr and Cox for actually finally pulling it through after 4 holes of playoff. I have my takeaway from this was Rebecca Cox was the player of the event.
Oh, for
Her
sure, for
drives
sure.
were just dead perfect. Well, the majority, obviously not 100%, but
Right.
her drives were insane. She had a little rough with a little issues with the putt for a little bit, but she kind of dialed that in. And yeah, big shout out to Rebecca Cox. Ultimately, if this is, I mean, now that we've been through the All Star and the Supreme Flight, like if this is what we're going to be seeing this year, it's going to be an amazing year because
Agreed.
it's not what you expected. It's not what I expected.
Well, she redid her form 2 seasons ago. So
Mm-hmm.
last season it was kind of she was still figuring things out and stuff like that. And then this year I think it's finally like all that muscle memory now is clicking into the new form. And like you
Yep.
said, her putt still comes out pretty hyzered, and sometimes she's like, short on the basket and she'll kind of stabby with her putt.
Yeah.
But her form is it's not, again, if you look comparison from 2, 3 years ago to now, it's not that much difference. But when you're at that elite level, even
You need
just
a
a
little bit.
little bit of change
Those little
where
minor
if you're
tweaks.
if you're pulling
Oh yeah.
through, just 3 or 4 inches up, or you get that hip twist a little bit better, it's going to make
Yep.
a world of difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
So
I like she was so like on in that All Star round. I almost because I have her as a backup,
Hmm.
had her as a
oh,
backup on my fantasy league. We'll talk about this later. And I almost put her into primer, and I freaking should have.
you should have. You
Yeah, well,
should have.
there's definitely some should haves on my part too, on
Yeah.
everybody.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
again, we'll get to that later.
Right.
Yeah. So the other event, as we discussed, Supreme Flight Open. So
Supreme
this
Flight
was
Open.
called chess.com. It changed Supreme Flight, which is a brand of Dylan Cease and Paul McBeth.
But
It's called.
chess.com was not the primary sponsor. They were
Yep,
just a
they're still a
secondary this
sponsor.
year.
They were still okay, so they were secondary. Okay, so that was a question I had because, well, even at that, to be
Which
honest
I
with you,
stopped you before you got there.
yeah, but even at that, I'm glad you brought that up, but I still didn't like the fact that there were chess pieces at the holes.
Same. It's kind of weird to me. Like
Yeah.
in essence, like I understand what they're trying to do, right?
Yes.
It's more of like an aesthetic thing, like on camera. Like, oh look, a giant chess piece. Like chess.com is a sponsor, right? And that's good like promotion for them.
Yes.
Yay. But some of the placements of those chess pieces were in really odd spots
Yes.
when it came to like actual play on the field.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of a weird thing when it's like, okay, that's something that's not necessary to be there,
Yeah.
and we're creating false obstacles in a
Yeah.
way. And I know that wasn't the intention, but that's what it becomes. Like
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
that should be taken. Somebody should look at that and be like, let's move that like to a place where it's not going to be as potentially interruptive to play.
And actually, if they were to use them, you know what? Highlight one hole, like a hole
Sure,
that's like an ace run hole or
but
something like that.
like put it next to a T sign.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
out of the way.
Out of
Like
the way.
you
Yep.
can still have it on camera, but it's not in the field.
Yes. Yeah. And
Why
I'm.
don't you have like all those banners and stuff that you put at the bottom that Nick hates so much of the
Oh, I was
the
just
baskets,
gonna
right?
say
Like
that, man.
that's where you put that,
I was just gonna say that, dude. You know how much I hate those signs right off the tee pads, dude. God, get rid
But
of
like,
those.
would you prefer that or the giant chess piece in the way?
Neither. I don't want either. Okay.
You have to pick
Okay.
one.
If
You
I have to pick one, oh, that's a tough one. I would almost go chess piece.
No,
Yeah.
you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
Just because they put so many of the other ones. If you're saying 1-to-1, Just the sign, yes.
No, you wouldn't. I'm just going to tell you right now, your opinion's wrong.
Anyways,
I'm gonna email
okay.
you, Nick.
The T pads are definitely way too crowded. But I think,
Yes.
unfortunately, as a TD myself, it's honestly a lot of it's kind of spoken. You know, it may not be written in a contract, but a lot of the people who buy the advertising, they they want it that close to the T pad. They want it in those locations. So again, maybe chess.com, was like, hey, we still want our chess pieces there and present and in that specific location. But you're
Yeah.
right, there was no context to it, being that it
Yeah.
wasn't called the chess.com open anymore or whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
At that
it was
point,
just
I would say
random chess
disregard.
pieces there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what you can do? You can use those things and put them up at the where all the stores are and all the tents are. Highlight that
Yeah,
maybe
there you
with
go.
the chess pieces. You don't need them on the course at that point, seeing as how they're not the primary sponsor. Okay, so the other issue with spotters, and Simon is a gentleman. Okay,
Yes,
we all love him. Okay,
absolutely.
very nice, very understanding. He's a little frustrated, but you aren't going to take it out on the spotter. You're not.
No, and
Ultimately,
he went to so much as to say so on
yes,
his like podcast,
yeah,
the video on his YouTube. He's like, I'm not
Yep.
gonna be mad at the guy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Accidents happen,
yeah.
right?
It's just
So that's
that disc comes in his foot. I don't know. Again, it's location of where you're at. Like you that shouldn't even come into play. You know what I mean? Like
I will say that did look pretty intentional to me.
it kind of did. They
But
said it
he could
hooked
have
on
just
his
No,
could have
shoe.
come on now.
he could have
He
just
got
tripped.
turned
He
around
could.
and his foot got caught on the rope.
Well, the disc was
It's like
around him. It was already around him. You couldn't just
yeah,
not moved at all.
right.
It was
It's one
past
of those
you.
things like you see the disc coming and your reaction is get out of the
Late.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're like crap, and you're like deer in the headlights kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is probably actually what went on. But on some of those like videos that I've seen, it looks like intentional. It's like the way that you film it without any context beforehand,
Yeah.
and you show this tiny little fragment, and it's like, oh, look at him, and he's like, "Rrrr," it's all slow mo,
Like, why
and
would
like
you
fades
jump
on
like,
his face. And he's like,
in the way?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
move it into the way. Yeah, like
Ultimately,
it's
I think
probably
like
purely accident.
what you said, Justin. I think this ultimately falls on management. I think it's TD's responsibility to direct these spotters better in the future, and that is something that has to be addressed because this should not be happening. Let's move on.
well,
I will
can I
say
wait? Can I
before
say
we move
one
on
thing
though.
Yeah.
before we move on? Actually,
Yeah, of
go
course.
ahead.
Yes, you. Then I'll go.
I I actually have a problem with the string being elevated in the air. There's no
It's
reason to
weird,
have
isn't
that
it?
string up above the air. Get the
Yeah.
stakes in the ground more, get the string on the ground, or use paint. Like I can't
Yeah.
stand the way we mark courses for out of bounds, for the circle, for the bullseye. Again, it's not as a visual medium, and you want outsiders to watch the game. Again, no context. What are those little
Right.
things in the
Little
ground? What do they
feathers.
mean? The
Yeah.
circle. Half the time, you can never see the circles on camera. They're always like, oh, they're outside the circle, they're inside the circle, and no one has any context of what they're talking about.
Right.
And
What's a
again, I
circle?
still think we should
What's the circle?
kind of explain it a little bit. Again, I know for us, we've been involved so long, we know exactly what it means, how far away it is, all that. But again, the whole thing is grow the sport. The outside people, they don't know. So
Yeah.
if it means a few extra words and a few extra explanations, but also visually, like, come on, do something better than just twine, rope on the course.
Right.
And then, of course, don't ever have it elevated. That was just dumb. Like, have it
Yeah,
on the ground.
Yeah.
it's weird.
Why
Like
would you have
I'm
it
all
that
for
far off the ground?
if you're gonna have an out of bounds, it's marked by something natural. Like if it's
Yeah.
like a natural like stone kind of formation thing and it's a little elevated. Okay, that's part of the course. But to create something artificial and elevated, that's weird.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
comes across weird. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I will say real quick too. I watched some of the Crushed Pepper podcast, and it gave me a little bit of nostalgia.
Really?
The way they had their setup, like their
Yeah.
sound guy was setting up into the board, it
Mm-hmm.
just reminded me a lot of how we used to do the disc golf show all
Definitely.
those years ago. That's how we started. I had a little board, and we plugged everything into it, and I don't know, it just gave me like this really nice, warm feeling of nostalgia. Like, oh, I know all the problems you're gonna have, like, but.
And you will have them. You will have them.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Okay, so I don't know about you guys. I'm going to bring this up again, just like I do with everything else. Not a fan of rangefinders during rounds. Not a fan.
Yeah.
There is a rule. Okay, there is a rule that it says you should not use any equipment that could assist your game during tournaments. Now, the reason why I know this, I'll get into later, but there is a rule that addresses the use of equipment, any kind of equipment that can assist your throw. To me, that's exactly what a rangefinder does. Why is that not being addressed as equipment for that rule from the PDGA? I don't like having them. Here's the thing. Use the rangefinder when you're doing your practice rounds. Get to a tree and go, okay, from this tree, it's about this. Mark it down in your notebook saying, this spot is about this far away. That's what practice rounds are for, is to get those things dialed in, get your distances. Like, okay, well, if I get to this tree, then I'm okay. If I'm shy of that, it's going to be tougher for me to deal with. Whatever it is, that's what the practice rounds are for. You shouldn't need to go over to your bag, grab the rangefinder, check the thing. Granted, while they're okay to use, by all means, take advantage of it. I'm not saying that. But in the future, I think those definitely need to be gotten rid of. I don't think that it's something that should be allowed during play, for at least for the professionals, for open.
I think one thing that would help with that is clearly defining what the distance is at, like, the tee pad or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know probably a lot of that comes from, well, how far out is it? And there's no marking or indication of how far out is it, right? So they use the rangefinder to figure that out. Like,
yeah.
And honestly, for that level of play is probably only really when that comes into context, right? When we're watching professionals do it, because honestly, if you're talking about during non-professional disc golf during tournaments and making that a rule overall, I think that affects less and less of the field as you kind of move away from pro, right? Like for me, if I used my rangefinder to tell me it was 300 feet instead of 200 feet, doesn't mean diddly squat to me. I'll throw the same thing, like it doesn't matter. But you're right, at these higher calibers of play, that's when it does kind of come into effect, and that would give you an advantage of knowing that distance, because that would change up what you might do, right? But you might eliminate a lot of that just vicariously by giving good indications of what that distance is to begin with. Yeah.
You know what? Another thing that you could do is, and again, we relate disc golf to golf a lot of times. When you're out there on the course, on a golf course, sometimes they do have markers on the ground that tell you you're this far out from the green, right? From the pin.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you could easily do that on the disc golf courses. You could have a specific tree that has a marker on it with a certain color, and those colors mean you're about this far away from the pin. So there are other ways to address that where you don't need to have these players take the time to pull out the rangefinder and all that. I don't know. I don't like seeing them out there. I think there's really one more thing that I'm not a fan of during this tournament. It's not that that's a harsh way to say it. It's not that I'm not a fan. It's an odd hole. Hole 17 at Olympus is such a strange hole layout. It's entertaining, but it's so weird because, yes, as a pro, you need to know your discs. You need to know how much turn they're going to, how much fade, all that stuff. You need to know these going into any shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of, and I understand blind landing spots are a thing, but the way this hole is laid out is so weird to me, where you're throwing up over a hill, then it turns to the left, and you're going over an OB section, and then you have this really thin fairway, really, to be honest with you, like to land on, then just to give you a possible straight look at the pin. I think there's a little bit of area on that specific hole that could be adjusted. I just think it's almost too technical of a shot, and I do like technical shots, don't get me wrong, but just personally, it was just it's always been, even the previous years that I've seen it, it's just a strange hole, and videoing too. Yeah, it just looks like a tough hole to do coverage on. Yeah, but I don't know what you guys think about hole 17. I'm not the biggest fan. I don't hate it, but I definitely don't love it.
Well, what I saw watching the live coverage was actually 16, 17, 18 caused so much backup, and we'll get to that later on with the playoff and everything, that there were so many people that got cold, as they call it. They just were sitting around. So I think, yes, the design of it, not bad, but when you put it in the middle of 16 and 18, it just made such horrible backups that it just really, that's what killed it for me. And 17 was the problem. Like, again, I know I heard on some podcasts 16 wasn't the most favorite hole. They wanted to push the OB out a little bit and things like that, and it needed to be cleared, but it was a brand new hole. 17, like you said, to have that elevation right away and then drop off, and then there's that swampy area right away. Like, it's just not. And again, being that it's right, in between 16 and 18 that are already difficult, super difficult holes, score separators, like I just don't think it's needed.
Well, so check it out. I don't know if you noticed, they put a Mando also on 17. So before you could go wide right. So they put so many. It just felt like they put so many obstacles on that one hole that made it awkward to me. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
I don't know, but I'll tell you right now, what I am a fan of is hole 18. One of my favorite finishing holes. There is no other hole like that on tour, with that drop off and lift again. Like the fact that Simon, what was it, a couple years ago, was able to get, or I don't know how long ago it was able to get.
2 years ago, he got.
And it was a little bit, I think, and it was a little closer of a tee shot. The tee was, I think, a little more accepting of that shot.
I think it was straighter.
Yeah.
Onto the shelf.
But that hole is really entertaining because it gives you eagle possibility.
Right.
It does. Like, well, especially for FPO. Mainly for FPO. But it's visually appealing to me to see that. So, big fan of 18. I don't know about you.
Love it.
Shout out to, or not a shout out. Hopefully, if you didn't hear, James Proctor had to leave early after round 2. He had an elbow injury. Hopefully he works through that and it goes smoothly and he's able to get back out.
I kind of like the way you were introducing that at first. Shout out to James Proctor for getting injured. Good job,
for getting injured. Good job.
Shout out to his elbow.
That guy's
you suck.
Yeah, he's on somebody else's fantasy team.
So for FPO at this event, you had ultimately in the end, which was crazy just that it came down to a 3-way playoff, because the way that it was looking, it was only between 2 players. Both those 2 players horribly mess up on hole 18 to allow Salonen back into it.
To come back in.
And Salonen crushed that hole. So big shout out to her for pushing herself back into the playoff. But you know what?
And hey, and what about that attempt at trying to get it up on the top there?
I mean, on the final round,
yeah. She attempted it. She came
from the drop zone. Throwing it up there. That is a shot.
Yeah,
it was a shot.
Crushed it.
Crazy, dude. Crazy for her. Big shout out to her. big shout out to the winner, Ella Hansen.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you right now, though.
I like seeing that.
I've got some critiques here. You do not have a playoff and have them play, especially at this course, hole 18 over and over again. You don't. The second round they started to play through, the second playoff hole on 18, MPO was coming through.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Horrible plan. Horrible.
I mean, it's because of that, though, right? The
Well,
MPO was all over the course. There's really not much you
can go to.
And here's the thing. It's tough at this course. Okay, it's tough at this course. But I think what I take away from this is moving forward into design. You design playoff possibilities into it. So you make a specific set of holes in your design that you go, okay, these will be the holes that we go through, or hole.
That doesn't change anything, though.
Yeah, and that's what they did with 18. They had a golf cart ready and everything, like to make it go faster.
The only thing that improves that situation is pushing back the start time of NPO to give you the time to use whatever hole
you'd have to
for playoff. That's the only way you're really going to solve that. Just moving it to a different hole.
Well, no.
Damn thing in this case.
Like you said, at this course, there's nothing you can do. At this course, there's really not much. But I'm saying
the time back. That's it.
Yeah, I'm saying in the future when you're actually deciding. I'm looking out like far, far, far in the future. When you're designing a course, you're going to now have to start thinking about, okay, when we have playoffs, how does this course best lay out to accept playoffs, and how easy is it? What holes are going to be the best holes to use for said playoffs prior to design of a course is what I'm talking about.
You know what your solution is, though? You know what your solution is, though? Easy fix. Have a cut. Brody says it all the time, too.
True.
Have a cut. Have the people that are out there making cash, that are going to make money, and of course, 4 or 5 or whatever people below the cash line that, have a chance that could make, an incredible push, but have a cut. You don't need 300 people playing the last final round on the final day that are just going through the motions.
That's actually a solution.
If you look at the scores, you can see those men and women that are playing that final round, they don't give a rip what they're doing, what they're throwing. They're throwing plus 36s and stuff like that. Why are they on the course on the final day? Get them off the course.
Yep.
Make a cut somewhere near the cash line on both MPO, FPO, whether it's 2 round or a 3 round or a 4, especially a 4 rounder. Get them off the course.
Agreed.
Make a cut.
100% agreed.
And then you've got the course open for playoffs and things like that, because you'll have open holes. Because again, the people that the FPO were running into were men that, the MPO that had no concept. They would, they're done. They were just playing the play, just going through the motions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like if you played that bad, don't.
Better luck next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to the next course and practice that. Take that last day, Sunday, travel to the next course and practice.
So moving on to MPO, if this was a shocker for me, the fact that Wysocki and Buhr only shot -2, -3 in the first round. When they did that, I was like, ooh, that's going to be tough. Because at that point, I think the lead wasn't it AB at like 10?
Yeah, I think he hit
double
digits.
Yeah.
So that's, oh man, the fact that was his first like Pro Tour event, and that was their first round for Pro Tour event. Hey, that was rough. Yeah, I know. Well, actually, yeah, AB pushed into the lead in round 2. That's correct. The points on this one were Ezra Robinson, or was Ezra Robinson. He showed up like nobody else was on the course.
Right.
Like round 3, he was on fire.
Absolutely. And I think, didn't he set in that last round the course record as well?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big shot.
Well,
Like
he wins
he's
the
all,
course record.
and all last year, I would say on average, I want to say Ezra probably did better overall than Isaac last year as an average, like placement
For
wise.
average finishes,
Sure.
yeah,
Yes.
he did.
Sure.
It was
And he
on.
had
It was
some
on that
close,
spreadsheet I shared in
yeah, and he had
fantasy.
some really close calls. And I'm so happy that he was just like I was last year with AB. Super happy that he won this event and got that monkey off his back, basically. And hopefully this will push him and give him that confidence moving in, just like it did with AB, where he was so strong last year, and now that he's won this one, I don't see anything other than seeing him on lead cards moving forward.
What was interesting to see, playstyle for him specifically, was even though, he had like a significant lead, I wasn't seeing a lot of like just layups. Like,
No.
I got this.
No.
He was going for it every time. Like,
He was
playing
committed.
each hole like it mattered.
Yep.
Like every point was what, and I think obviously that's what led to the course record thing here too. But wasn't this, and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't this his first
Yes.
win?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. First
Yeah.
disc golf
First-
pro tour win.
Yep.
First
Exactly.
Disc Golf Pro Tour win. That's
He had a
awesome.
silver series, I think.
Yeah.
Whenever they
I
called
think he
it
had,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couple years
Q
ago.
series or whatever it was.
That's awesome
Yeah.
because he was playing like he had a bunch of them. I'll tell you that.
Well, plus, on
Awesome.
that subject, what you were just saying, he did say in a interview or one of the videos I saw, he was discussing about how if he does lighten up on his throws, if he doesn't go for it on his throws, he's more of a sprinkler. He has to commit and actually, like, I feel like he's one of those people that throws 100% and just changes the disc for that shot. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Versus throwing 75% with it. You know what I mean? So he did talk about that. He was committed to every shot that he made, and
Yeah,
it worked out for him.
absolutely. That's
And it
his
worked out for
game,
him.
is just keep the foot on the gas and keep accelerating.
Yep.
Hey, it worked for him.
Yeah. So he had any won dominating fashion by 6 strokes. So good for him. Another notable, talking about people falling off, right? We were talking about this. McBeth podium.
Yeah. Yeah.
He came back. Simon had an amazing final round. He had a great event, but McBeth got a podium. So like,
He's putting
what's
his
the
money where his
top?
mouth is.
What's
Yeah,
the
home
top?
home course advantage.
Well,
I
I'll
don't even
chalk
know
it
if
up
it's
to.
that. I don't even know if
I
it's
do.
that. He was missing so much in the first couple rounds. Like he was not dead on in his overall gameplay to me. But he had a great final round that pushed him up there. I think that his discussion of wanting to, I don't know if we discussed it last episode, his talk about wanting to make sure that his kid, that Pablo sees him great currently.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Dad was great. I think that's a huge thing for him, and I think that that's hopefully what keeps him in the runnings.
Right. And we talked about how he compared his disc speed on the tech disc, to other players, and it kind of fired him up. He's a competitor. He is ultimate, competitor. I love watching his videos, when they're out there. For one, Hannah McBeth is an awesome editor. If you watch any of her stuff, the editing she does, she's fantastic. But anyway, you can see how competitive he is with anything and everything. I'm gonna hold back until I see it repeated. I do think this might have been a fluke.
I hope not.
He was saying.
I hope
kind of
not
at the
too.
beginning in the press kind of coverage or whatever. What do they call the thing?
Press conference.
Press conference. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think of the word conference. He was saying he was going to turn it on this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So far,
I'm hoping that all his other ventures are kind of like solid enough now that they're kind of running on their own to where he can now commit that energy and effort back into just disc golf and playing. Do you guys think he has another major in him?
No. Well, do I think he has it in him? Yes. Do I think the field has advanced to a point to where he's not going to win one? Absolutely.
Oh, that's a good. Okay,
I think we'll see at least one this year.
think so.
You know what? No, I want to see one this year. Maybe that's
Right.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Me
I
saying
want to
this
see
is
one.
no slight on Paul McBeth.
No, not at all.
Seems like an awesome person. I think he's a great ambassador for what he's doing for the sport
Oh,
with
it's
buying these courses and the
Yep.
course design that he's gotten into, and again, seems like an outstanding person. Never
Yeah.
met the guy, but I think the field. We talked about it when we talked about our draft segment. Like I just think the
Right.
field is just passed him by, and like I said, I'm gonna chalk this up to he knew this course. He had that little bit of fire that he was able to press the gas down a little bit, but he still lost
Yeah.
by a
Yeah.
significant amount.
Yeah. So here's a question for you: if you had these three people to win a major, who would you want to win most? And those three people are going to be Paul McBeth, Calvin Heimberg, and Simon Lizotte.
I'm biased.
I'm biased because Calvin's on my fantasy team, so Calvin.
You got to take fantasy out of your brain here.
Simon then. If I take fantasy out of it, Simon.
You too, Justin?
Of course.
Okay, that's same with me. Same with me. So yeah, resounding Simon Lizotte for a major win this year.
We're just Lizotte fans. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
here's the thing too. I just watched one of his most recent videos, where he said he wants that M. He wants that major title.
Well, he's another one that reaffirmed that he's committing more this year
Yeah.
to playing and being healthier. I mean, the fact that he's saying that he's not drinking beer,
That's
I don't know
crazy.
if you guys caught that. That's
For Simon.
crazy for him.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
That's a commitment.
and so I guess his vlogger, his cameraman is also like a personal trainer, a nutritionist or something like that.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
that's
okay.
huge.
All right.
And
Yeah.
again, he actually put that out there in the world. It's not a coincidence. That's who he was looking for to hire. Was
Yeah.
somebody that was going to be caddy, trainer, help him with his food, all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. And if anything, I think he's the one that's going to have more of a chance going forward than some of the older, players.
Just as you touched on, he's back in the YouTube game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is amazing. He said he's going to be doing daily, which I'm guessing it's going to be daily, event daily. Because I don't know if he's going to do
it's not.
As of right now, it's not every 7 days a week. It was, I think, 4 straight or something like that, 5 straight. But I'm excited. More content for us to watch of our beloved Simon Lizotte.
Absolutely. I'm going to push us ahead here because we're running up against some time. Kristen will be playing at Waco.
Yep.
Even with the confusion that happened with her passport and the last name change. And passport stuff is just, it's a nightmare sometimes. So that's good to see Waco there. And then we'd already covered the Simon doing the daily kind of upload thing. So let's move into a little bit of disc golf conversation.
Perfect.
My God, are you still talking?
Darn right we are. We're talking about disc golf. We're going to continue to talk about disc golf. Because that's what we do here on the show. All right, so let's throw this out there. Because, it's a topic. People talk about it because you see it, right? DGN coverage quality. It's, first event of the year we just had, right? Supreme Flight Open, What are we thinking of the coverage? I'll start us off. I think it was great. I think it was fantastic. I think there's just little minor things that they could do to improve kind of the quality of the coverage overall. And, it's things that we've talked about on the show before. Probably ad nauseum at this point, right? With the staring at the ground instead of being always ready and all those kinds of things, right? But overall, I think the quality has improved year over year. I mean, think back to when you first had this DGN coverage thing and what it was to where it's at now. There's a big improvement. There are still some things, let's be honest, that are still happening that should be corrected, right? And it seems
Yes.
like on surface level to us not in the hot seat that those should be easy things to fix. And hey, maybe they are. But I think overall when you look at it, the coverage is pretty darn good and it's getting better and better. And I only see it going upwards from here.
Yeah.
I don't really see a regression in things. And there's things that you can't help too, right? You have to think about this. We're on a course, and the technology that we're using to be able to provide that signal live, right, is limited. So you have to kind of give them a little bit there, right? You're going to have coverage issues sometimes, just by the nature of what it is. Unless, some kind of massive infrastructural improvement happens, which means this, moolah, it's going to stay that way for a little bit. But I think overall, it's definitely headed in the right direction. I think the coverage is great. And I see a lot of people just pooping all over him, like, really? You're able to watch live, and it's good. But, I understand the gripes because I have some of them too. But I'll throw it over to you. What do you think?
Go ahead, Nick. I'll go last.
And
I
what do
think
you
the
think
only
if you're watching or listening? Comments
yes,
down below on the
let us
YouTube,
know.
or you can leave them on, the audio only version.
Let us know your gripes or your appreciation of DGN. I think ultimately the issues come down to the issues that are brought up. Personally, I think it more relates to where the subscriber is and their connection. That can cause more problems, I think, than anything that DGN can address.
Absolutely.
I think remoteness and things like that. I think those are probably the biggest issues is the connections. But I didn't have any of those issues. I had, again, like you touched on, I had the normal things, annoyances. But as for coverage quality, clarity, it was fine for me.
Here's a PSA real quick too. If you're somebody that's watching DGN coverage and something funny is happening or cuts out, refresh.
Yeah.
Close your browser. Close the application on your TV. Open it back up again. See if that resolves the problem. Because a lot of these things that I have been seeing have been like, buddy, you're the only one experiencing that. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
That means it's not the service. That means it's you.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of that too. And maybe that's a personal pet peeve of mine working in like the IT kind of industry is like, did you restart your computer? Can we start there? It's a meme at this point. Like, come on. So some of these things that I see people complaining about, like that's not a DGN thing. That's a you thing.
Yeah.
So put that out there, refresh it, close it, open it again.
Yep.
Okay, so my problems, and I'll go quick because again we have talked about it before, and I'll give it a caveat, like I've talked about plenty of times before. These cameramen, a lot of them are ex-disc golfers. I think the person running the board is also just a fan of the sport, and he worked for ESPN. I think it's Mahmood that's doing the directing, and again, he's got a lot on his plate. But by now, I would expect the still shot of like when they switch cameras and you just see nothingness. The cameraman's not catching the disc, and then Mahmood or whoever it is that's making the switch shouldn't switch the camera. Like, why every time they switch to a catch cam and there's no disc in frame, and then you see the cameraman, doing this, it's don't switch. Just don't switch. Or again, when you do have a clear shot of the tee pad, push in from the catch cam and let's watch the shot. A lot of times that's what they use as a replay shot. Use that shot completely. The other thing they can do is, okay, it's live and we want live disc golf. Delay it 10 minutes and just have some shots ready to show instead of Cat doing a handstand during the backup and them talking and playing like have a shot that you can cut to.
Agreed.
Have a player that you can cut to. And my gosh, stop with the drone. I love that we have drone coverage. But again, 90% of the drone coverage is just them walking. If I want to
Right.
watch people walk, I'll watch The Hobbit again and watch the hobbits walk across Hobbiton and watch the trees walk. Everybody walks in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I don't need to see it in disc golf. I don't need to see the crowd moving from one section to the other. Again, I get it. They're sponsored by Supreme Flight and they got to do their ads. But
Yeah.
every time they cut, and then every time before they go to break, they're showing a cow or they're showing a goat, and it's the same goat chewing on the same branch. It's the same B roll. Like again, change it up. That's where,
Change the
like, if you're gonna
B-roll.
go for a break, that's when you cut the cat doing her handstand and you giggle about it.
Right, right,
We'll
right.
be right back.
Right, right, right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit to that having a live but delayed that would help them a lot, and just in being able to do that multi-switching because that's rough live,
I
That
bet you.
requires really experienced crews.
I'm
Not
pretty
saying they
sure
can't get
it's
there, but
slightly delayed.
it's
I,
very minimally delayed.
yeah,
very
but
minimal.
it should be. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, I think having that option of being able to delay it a little bit more because the viewer doesn't know.
Right.
The viewer has no idea if they're watching it right now or if it happened 10 minutes
Right.
ago.
I mean,
Yeah.
you'll see like the live scores update probably sooner, and you'll be like,
Yes.
"Oh, what
Sure.
happened?"
Yep.
But then you really want to watch.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
degrades from what's going to happen.
No, I
In
don't
the
think
least
so
bit.
at all.
And overall gives you better coverage. Plus, taking that B-roll footage opportunity and focusing that B-roll. Like let's say, we have these times where they're walking in between pins. Use that drone footage, but a targeted drone footage where they've done this in the past, where you start the drone on the T-pad and you fly to the pin, and we're talking about the pin. Maybe we're superimposing a line, where discs can go. We're focusing in that footage versus just watching the herd of people move. Like
Yeah.
something focused, more
Exactly.
attention
Talk
grabbing,
about
more to the point.
Yeah, I hate whole previews again because I've seen these courses over and over and over again.
Sure.
But you're right, Justin. That's a great time to do the whole preview. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
watching them walk to the hole, cut to that drone footage of the flying through the woods and describing the hole. And there's another thing that I thought of that they can do. Anthony Bedanza does it great. Exactly what you said, Justin. Not just talk about, hey, you want to throw around, this tree in this gap. Highlight it. Again,
Mm-hmm.
make the viewer experience so much better. So here's, and put it in purple or green or whatever. There's the hole. There's the gap you want to hit. Here's the out of bounds line. And then, darken up that whole area. Like this is all out of bounds over here. Not just, oh, and there's out of bounds to the left and there's out of bounds to the right. Again, I don't put that on anybody that's calling the coverage, but it's just it means nothing to the people watching it unless they're super familiar with the course or it's an obvious out of bounds where it's a road or it's a river or stream or something like that. Just going, oh, there's out of bounds to the left, oh, there's out of bounds to the right. It's like, oh, where?
Yeah,
Show me.
have some sort of visual effect that highlights
Yeah.
those areas. Yeah, definitely. And I've seen that in previous fly-throughs in the past. I've seen them do that before, but it never stuck. And I don't know why. Because that is a good idea where it just, like you said, a specific color pops over that section and it just kind of flashes and say, hey, this section, this is OB or
even
whatever.
the ability to do that live.
Yeah.
There's easy ways to do that. I mean, hey, easy
Quote
ways to do
unquote,
that.
yeah.
But there's easy ways to do that. That would give just a little bit more information.
Yeah.
That we could use, especially to those, like Ken was saying, to those people that don't know.
Yep.
Now you know. They're all analysts really when you look at it. So give us some analyzation.
Yeah.
Let's put that on there.
I do have to say that the drone shots of the gallery, I think, is more purposeful for marketing and advertising, showing that look at all these people that have come to this event. They have to use that. Some of that footage has to be in there to show that there's some sort of
I can guarantee you, as a guy who went and did sales calls, there's no chance that's in your sales package.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you're sending them videos of events to show what the coverage looks like at these events for the tour,
No
then
chance
they
that's
can
in there.
see. Well,
I 100% can guarantee they're not editing out footage of people at the event for their
no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying they're
advertisers to look
editing it
at.
out. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not talking about for that purpose. I'm not talking about solely for a clip to send to somebody. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more about, hey, we're looking for sponsors, blah blah blah. If you and it's a new possible sponsor that it doesn't familiar with disc golf, well, they want to see what kind of support and what kind of spectatorship that they're getting at these events, because they want to know that whatever they're going to be promoting for said sponsor will be seen by a large quantity of people. So if they do send out, hey, here's our channel, check us out, see if we're of interest, because I deal with this when I contact people for sponsorship for things. You need to provide some sort of, as much as possible, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be on an Excel sheet. It's going to be on the numbers and stuff like that. There's
but a visual,
the video means again, they're not going to watch the video.
Okay.
I used to make commercials for clients, and they literally wouldn't even review their own commercial that they paid for.
Oh, I get that.
So there's no way that any potential client's going to go and watch footage and go, oh, look at all the people there. They just want to hear it. There was 1,000 people in attendance, and they were, ages 18 to 23, and this is the, annual income that they had. They could care less about some drone footage flyover of people watching a hole.
True. Numbers do dominate.
True.
Yeah. They just want to hear the numbers.
Point. You know what else is a good point, Nick?
Yeah. What?
Apparently you put this on the show notes, so I'm going to let you talk about it. But Go Throw Tour website needing a lot of work. Explain.
I'll tell you really quickly. I don't want to harp on this because I like what they're doing. I like that they're trying to compete. Competition, we talk about that. Breeds excellence. I just went on there just to see rankings, and it was like, it wasn't, I don't know, maybe they were doing an update when I went on there. It was not working how I thought it was going to work. Like, I'm trying to click on leaderboards. It's not going to leaderboards. I click on different links that it has. It's not functioning how I think it should function. But again, maybe that's I don't know. Maybe it's a bad connection with me. Maybe it's my issue. But I just wanted to go on there to check to see what kind of things are happening with them, because I know that they recently had an event, and I think did Buhr win it? I want to say Buhr won it.
Yes.
At least the MPO division. So Buhr did win an event, not a DGPT, but a tour event of its own.
After he said he was injured too.
Yeah, because he had a finger issue, right? Didn't he have
an back issue? He put out that that big shout out like, help, I'm having problems with my back. But then people thought that he was just joshing with that.
Yeah. So, anyways, the only thing I'm saying is that something needs to be addressed on that page, on that site, because it was not functioning like at 50%.
Did you go on UDisc and see the scores at all?
No, I haven't. I didn't go.
Yeah, they're using UDisc, and again, I had to dig for it. It's not UDisc Live like it used to be, to where as soon as you opened up UDisc, you could just click on the event that they were scoring, and you could see the stats and everything. I hope they get to that point, but you had to search it and find the tournament. But then, there was a leaderboard. I believe Cat won for Cat Merch,
FPO.
Won for FPO. But yeah, I mean, it took me a little bit, but I found the scores, and that was nice. I loved UDisc Live scoring. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm glad UDisc is back into the limelight in some fashion, because they started that whole gig. Like
Absolutely.
and they're amazing at it. So it's frustrating that they're not more involved, especially with DGPT. I know PDGA has their scoring thing, and that's kind of what DGPT has decided to use. But I really enjoyed UDisc, and I'm glad that they're more involved with at least Go Throw. How about Justin? Did you check out the website?
Yeah.
Was it functioning?
For the most part, it just looks like the leaderboard's having some problems.
Oh, okay. So it's mainly leaderboards. Okay.
Yeah, like there's a little bit of slow loading, but I believe it's probably because they're pulling all that data from a database.
Gotcha.
So it's probably connection oriented.
Okay.
So as fast as that connection is going is as fast as you'll see the information.
So, okay. All right. Well, maybe that's
it functions. It's just a little slow, but there's probably a lot of data on there that they're pushing out. So
for sure,
just give it a couple extra seconds. But
all right,
it looks like the leaderboard's.
I got a question for you guys. I know it's kind of generic, but I thought this would be kind of a neat thing for the show. What would you say is the Birdogie of the last 2 weeks? So something that could have been great, but fell short.
My disc golf game. Final answer.
How about you, Ken?
I'll just go back to the fact that the coverage was exactly the same. The problems I had with it.
Oh, okay.
Aerial footage,
no leaps
not a
and
down.
bounds.
Right. Yeah. There was no change. And again, you got to address that. Like in my eyes, again, quick cuts. We don't need 4.5 hour round coverage for anybody. Got to make it faster. That's their Birdogie. They had an opportunity to do it. It's not like they didn't know, and they just didn't change it.
All right.
Quick update. The leaderboard does work.
Does it?
It's just real slow.
Real slow, huh?
Real slow.
Okay. Well, I'll click and wait.
It literally, like when you asked me about it, I clicked on the link, and
it just now
right as Ken started talking, then it showed me the leaderboard.
Okay, hey, that's my Birdogie. Come on, go throw. I was so excited, and you're lagging. You're lagging.
Growing pains.
Yeah.
They just started.
For sure.
Yeah, it'll get there.
All right, sweet.
It'll get there. I think the only thing that we need to get there on is the next segment. What do you think?
Gear. Oh my. And equipment.
What was he looking at? Gear and equipment brought to you by discgolfdealsusa.com/disc golf show. That's the affiliate link. Click on it down below. Save yourself 10% on some stuff. And maybe some of this stuff that we're going to talk about will be stuff that you can pick up here soon, maybe. We've had some approvals of gears and equipment, mostly discs. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Mostly discs. Because there's just a ton of stuff being pushed through approvals for the PDGA, and that's great. I like it, all of it. Keep bringing more of it. I love it. Breeds competition, right?
Yes.
Although there are some inherent things that go with that maybe we'll talk about one day. But first, let's talk about Thought Space Athletics and the Persona that was recently approved on March 3rd with the flight numbers of 85, -3, and 1, which is interesting. I love kind of the design of this disc too. It's like that mask with like the vines growing through it and all this kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. I don't know. Check it out. They have information about it, and they have it up on their products section of their website, so you can actually go take a look at it, which is something that we can't say for pretty much the rest of these things. Goliath discs had the Shepherd. Flight Forge discs had the Ingot approved, and we have no information on that on the same date there at March 3rd. And then we move into March 10th with XCOM discs.
We know those.
Scorpio, XCOM, they're interesting. That's the Chinese brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is... Okay, one thing, I'm going to stop right here real quick. I understand it's from China. And they don't have the same copyright, trademark things that we do because it's China, right?
Yeah.
But if you really want to push your stuff into being taken, like, seriously, stop ripping off all the other companies by obviously copying their stuff and changing just a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on. Like, I know that's what they do. And it's almost like that will maybe actually kind of help the sales a little bit because people are like, ha, look. But do you want your disc brand to be that? Look, maybe.
Right.
Maybe you do. But if you want to move outside of the Timo disc brand, work on that.
Yeah.
But they had the Scorpio recently approved, and I won't even go into what they're copying. The Andromeda M31 discs had their Singularity approved, and that is the first disc from them that we've seen. So that's interesting. We have a new brand out there, new manufacturer, and maybe we'll see some more stuff from them. And then our favorite people at Trash Panda had the Canyon retooled approved, which is interesting to see that they're kind of refining more of their modules. If you haven't looked them up and kind of watched their videos on YouTube of the creation process and kind of what they're doing with recycled plastics, it's really cool, and I highly recommend you guys check it out.
Agreed.
It's super cool stuff. And then I'll just race through the rest of this so we can get to the next section, because we are coming up on quite a long show already. Trash Panda had another one released and approved for the first time, the O-Zone, which is a Signature Series disc. The Discmania had the Hulk Lab P2X, which is Gannon Buhr's putter. MVP had the Axiom Particle Glow Proton Soft Proxy, which is a Silva Saarinen Team Series. They also had the Eclipse 2.0 Wave and the Eclipse 2.0 Watt, recently approved in March here, just a little bit ago. And it looks like Streamline had the Neutron Range recently.
Yeah, so those ones are actually release time, so not approved.
These are release release ranges.
Yep.
My bad.
But
be
one thing
on the 14th.
I thought was funny, really funny, is the name of that Axiom Particle Glow Proton Soft Proxy. It's like, let's bring that down. Come on, guys. Come on.
The APGPSP.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Yep. GSP, if you like MMA.
Exactly.
All right, and that only leads us into one thing, which is...
KEN versus Disc Golf.
Hey.
Our favorite segment. My favorite segment.
Absolutely, my favorite segment.
It better be. It's brought to you by Can You Putt. Check them out on the website there, canyouput.wixsite.com/canyouput. For all your, coaching needs. Why not? Go to the pro.
And fantasy needs, because he's about to give us the dirt right now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have a few discs for sale, too.
All right. Perfect.
Check it out.
So, how did we fare? What do we think? I think I think myself, I did awful. Just absolutely terrible. You guys shellacked me. Well, Nick, yeah, you shellacked me. Who won this week?
I did
it is Nick, right?
I did all right.
No, you won, didn't you? This week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got one under the belt. I don't have to worry for the rest of the year.
And I speak for Ken and myself. I hope that's the last one that we say. I mean, good job.
Yeah. What did we think of the scoring?
Interesting. I like that the ability to put in for whoever's kind of organizing your league can customize the points. Mm-hmm. And the points are there for you to see, and it's more than just placement. It's what the things happened. So it makes it a little bit more dynamic in a way, and a little bit more exciting. Because even if you have a player that's not going to take first, second, third place or whatever, but you have a player that's knocking down Bert, you're getting excited about that individual component. So
correct.
I really enjoy that aspect of using Skip Ace. So it's really cool this year.
Nick,
so I gotta thank you, Justin. Thank you for making those points. And I don't know if you saw, Ken, but I did see JVD say that he ended up pushing out new features earlier than he thought for this next event. And it'll be live scoring, even more in depth of how the scores are actually being applied, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's really, really good. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And like I said, having played other fantasy sports, this really is now exactly like the other sports. Like you said, you could have a tight end in your fantasy football team who scores, 2 times, and that's freaking fantastic, but he only had 15 yards because he's just a goal line tight end. But that's why you want to draft him. It's like, hey, this guy always gets the ball when they're down on the goal line situation. So it didn't matter that the team didn't win. It didn't matter, that he didn't get 150 yards with it, but he got a lot of scoring points because, he scored touchdowns. So in our fantasy league, it's who's getting those birdies, who's consistent on those birdies and not making bogeys. Who's more consistent on the course and scoring wise.
Yeah.
Again, we'll move on then. How about free agents? Did anybody pick anybody up? Except for, I did. I don't know if it's an overreaction because it's only 1 week, but I literally picked up 2 free agents already.
Yep, I picked up Mr. Jake Mon.
Oh, okay.
He was the number 1 pickup, I think JVD said, for MPO. Nick, did you make any moves?
I'm doing nothing because it worked this round, so I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope it happens again at some point during the season.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call up each and every one of my players, and we're gonna have a team powwow about picking up your game.
Sitting there in the game, DMing them all. Come on now.
Yeah. Like, what was that? What was that? What was that, Mr. Shoe? Who was that?
Yeah.
I'm disappointed.
And then real quick, nobody made any trade offers, I saw. So no first week, again, panics, we're trying to take advantage of people that may not be, too versed on all the players and stuff like that. But I'm curious when that's first going to happen. And I also wonder if it's, again, playing in other fantasy leagues in football, you always had to have approval. So that way there was no collusion. If I sent out, some guy that's not even on the tour and got Gannon Buhr back as a trade, you guys would all have to vote and approve. So I don't know if that's the process. But I'm looking forward to that first trade. So.
Well, let's move into upcoming events. Until they happen, I'm going to mention these couple here. May 17th to 25th, 2025 Women's Disc Golf Week. Support that. Again, it goes to, I believe, Throw Pinks, stuff like that, charities like that. September 12th to 14th is the Canadian Championship. It is a DGPTQ series for our friends up in Port Hope, Ontario. And then, Ken, for these next 2 events coming up, these next 2 weekends, we've got 2 more DGPT events. We've got March 14th to 16th, Prodigy presents the Waco Annual Charity Open, Waco, Texas. And March 20th to 23rd, MVP's Open at Austin in Austin, Texas. Who do you think are good choices, or who do you think would have been the best picks for these couple events?
And I will add in something too before you answer that. What about, answer that question too, but maybe also go into what would be some good general advice for somebody looking at their fantasy kind of roster going into these next couple events? What's some good things to kind of think about? So like me, myself, and I don't know if this is good or not, or if I'm thinking way too much into it, but I start looking at my rosters and who I have on my bench versus my active players, and I see what they did last year as kind of a performance indicator. And I go, who might I want to swap in? Because what did they do last year on this event? Were they really good? That kind of thing. So I'll let you have it there.
Sure. Problem with doing that with Waco is they're only playing the traditional old course. I think they call it the Beast also, not to be confused with the Beast over in Europe.
Overseas.
So last year they played the golf course also. They're not going to do that this year. So comparing to last year, it's good, but you really got to dig into the weeds of the event and things like that. Waco and this smaller course, it's the smallest course on tour, lengthwise and stuff like that. It's going to be a birdie fest. So if you're looking at your roster, again, look at those people that are the most consistent. Now, in saying that, they're probably already in your lineup. Again, it's so early in disc golf fantasy that I wouldn't overthink it. That's my advice for both of these events. Right now, don't overthink it. Don't shoot for the moon. Don't put in that, Ellie Ezra. She's on my roster. I know she did really well at Waco last year, or it was one of her standout events, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but anyway, just for instance, somebody like that, Emily Weatherman, you're. I'm trying to think of some of your, Colton,
Cyanide.
right?
Yep.
Colton Montgomery won Waco, so you're like, oh, well, obviously he must perform well. Well, he's not very consistent, so I wouldn't necessarily throw Colton into my fantasy lineup just because he's won Waco one time before or things like that. Luke Humphreys always does well at Waco, but has he been that consistent player all the way through? Again, that's maybe somebody you want to think about. If you're doing what Justin's doing. Me personally, it's still too early yet. Who I drafted is pretty much who I'm going to put in there, unless they're just physically not there at the event or because of injury or something like that. So.
Gotcha. I would add one thing. I would say, with how Waco's pretty technical, so I would say don't think that your big arms are the way to go. Like, you don't need, like you said, it's a shorter course, so you don't need the distance. So if you have somebody on there that you're questioning, oh well, their shorter games are very close, but this guy can throw farther, it doesn't mean anything in this instance. Like you said, don't kill yourself on this decision for this event. Like, you don't need the distance. Go with those people that are more consistent in their fairways, maybe, and their mids. Then that could be a good route.
Yeah, and your last guy on the roster, but again, it's not like you're going to bench AB because they're at Waco.
No,
You're not going to bench.
no.
You're not going to.
He's got
So,
great mid. Yeah.
yeah.
He's got great control.
Well, I mean, yeah, a great overall game. So but still, like I'm not going to sit my throwers just because they're at Waco. Not yet. I think our rosters are deep enough. And again, I guess that's the advice I'd give you. Depending on how many players you have starting, where we have 4 and 2, right? 4 MPO. Yeah, the 4 that we're going to start are the 4 we're going to start.
6.
6. Okay. So yeah, maybe, that 5th or 6th guy, you want to look at that if he's known to just be, a hucker of the disc, then, maybe look at a more technical Woods player or something like that. But I again, I'm not trying to cop out on my own segment. I'm just saying, right now, again, you're not. I think that's just overthinking it. That's my fantasy advice. Don't overthink it. Keep those main players in there, and those last few, right now, they've only played one event, so it's hard to say those mid-tier players and things like that. Because again, you're gonna keep a lot of those guys in there anyway.
Gotcha.
Great advice.
Sounds good.
Great advice. Can't argue with that. Also, another thing we can't argue into as I horribly segue into it.
You've got
mail.
Incoming mail.
Mail call.
We do have mail. So,
No way.
real quick, this is the segment where we get your feedback and we tell you about some things that are coming out that aren't necessarily related to the rest of the bulk of the show. One quick update. I was trying to fashion a way, like we have done in the past, for you to leave us like a voicemail so you can hear yourself on the show and ask us a question or whatever you'd like to talk about within reason. I'm looking at you, Joe. I know you. I know what you're thinking. And I was going to use Skype, but guess what? Skype's going away. They're doing away with it. So we can't do it like we did in the past. So I got to kind of figure out how I'm going to do that now. So things in the works, but that's coming soon. Just a little bit further down the road than I thought it would take. But yeah, Microsoft's doing away with Skype, so we're not going to do that. So there you go. In kind of quick update news about some stuff that's coming, and I'm probably going to be working on that after this, we're going to be having some easily consumable Flightline videos coming your way. And it's got some stuff in there we're super excited about. That will also be brought to you in part by Disc Golf Deals USA. And I think you're going to like it.
Yes.
It's going to be a different take, and I think way more consumable than what we have out there right now. So those will be coming here maybe at the end of the week, maybe next week, just kind of works on timing. But we'll be having a lot of those coming your way here in the near future, and we're super excited about it. And they'll be out soon.
Exactly. The other thing, I just wanted to do a little, not so much product review, I guess. Although it's kind of, I kind of made it a product review, right?
Yeah.
I took the PDJ officials quiz thing, which if you can do it, it's not a long quiz. It's a multi, like A through D, pick your, and they give you, it's open book, so you can go do that. My critique on this is it's just like a driver's test. Some of the questions and the answers, and when you go research the answers, you're like, well, it could be this or that. It's not super clear completely. I passed, which is great, but I just thought it was funny because I literally taking the test, I'm like, what, am I 16 again? Am I 15 and a half? Like, what is happening here? This is ridiculous. But yeah, so interesting. I think there's definitely some corrections and updates and changes they can make to make it a little more, I don't know, at least they're giving you the actual rules to go look at, the specific rule number and everything. So like 106.2 or whatever it is, right? 803.5, A, C, whatever. So it gives you direct things to look up, to compare, to see what your choice is. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting to say the least. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then here for the last little bit of it, I guess we got some feedback from Facebook and YouTube. You want to explain that one there, Nick?
Yeah. So somebody commented. They go, "Hey, how has there not been a show called the Disc Golf Show?" And I go, "That's what we thought when we first started it back in 2013." So we snagged it real quick there, and it was just I found it funny. I thought it was very apparent to me and to Justin and I as well when we decided to go with that. I know it's generic sounding, but it's simple, easy to remember, and some people have bit off that thought process over the years, and but
yes. Seeing strikingly similar logos.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder what the inspiration for that was.
Yeah.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Exactly.
Sure it is.
Exactly. That's how we were taking it. But yeah.
I find it entertaining.
Yeah. So thank you for that feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that means we were headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
How has there not been one? Yeah, exactly. That's what we thought. So that's why, we did it so that you don't have to.
Exactly.
Okay, I think this marks kind of the end of the show, the wind down, but there's a couple of important things, so stay tuned. We're not quite done yet. Don't click off. Don't be that guy or girl. Come on. I'm looking at you, Jeff. If you're in the market for maybe, I don't know, some new swag, a new disc golf bag maybe, look at maybe Upper Park Disc Golf, and if you do, use the code DiscGolfShow to get yourself 15% off your entire purchase. There's another way you can make money too, and that's to go to discgolfdealsusa.com/discgolfshow and save yourself 10% off of the stuff that you just can't get at your local, pro shop, or, maybe you don't like that guy. Maybe it's Nick. Maybe Nick's running your local pro shop, and you don't like him, so you got to go online, and that's a great place to look for your disc golf needs and save yourself some money at the same time. This episode was brought to you in part by Final 9 Sports with their 2 locations, one in Rockland, one in Orangeville. Support local, that's the message, or, Disc Golf Deals USA if you can't, it's Nick. And then send an email to Nick at discgolfshow.com, or if you have some other kind of feedback for the show generically, or you have some questions, or hey, you were a winner of one of the giveaways, shoot us an email at theshow@discgolfshow.com. And remember to click subscribe, because then, hey, upcoming giveaways, maybe you'll be entered in that too. I think that does it for me, for Nick, for Ken. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you guys next time, and remember, in disc golf as in life, aim high and let it fly.